Hello, I am Ron Baker. Welcome to Empowered at Last. Yes, I am wearing a wacky tie-dye shirt today on purpose because of what we're going to be talking about today. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, let me just say that the focus of this particular podcast is to add to the conversation that has been going on more and more, which is all about how to be the best you can be. So much of that is focused on building a business or becoming an entrepreneur or a leader, peak performance in the world. This podcast, instead, is mostly focused on self, inner self, experiential self, how to become the best you from the inside out. Why is that? Because I believe, I actually experience it, so therefore I will say, I know that for me and for my thousands of clients around the world, when we come from the inside and invest an authentic sense of self into what we're doing, it makes all of that much more fulfilling and pleasurable. I went after a first career and was successful performing all over the world. I didn't have the inner sense of self that I have now, and I would love to go back and be able to do that career again with who I am today, understanding how to create meaningful experiences. I believe that the majority of what allows us to have meaningful experience comes from our inner approach to the situations. Just because we have an exciting or a glamorous situation to go to does not determine that it's going to be a meaningful experience. If that were so, everybody at that particular event would be having the same remarkable experience. What determines the difference for some? If we are connected on the inside and we know how to give ourselves the experience that we want to have, and we have freed up ourselves enough to give that experience to ourselves, then we are the one in charge of creating the meaningful moment, not the situation. Oh, well, I'm going on this really glamorous trip, therefore I'm sure it'll be amazing. I bet there are lots of people where I am going that are not having an amazing time. Why is that? They have not connected to themselves on the inside. They have not known how to give themselves the particular experience that they most want to have. Life does not happen from the outside in. It happens from the inside out. This will become clearer as we expand from episode to episode on this podcast. So today, the reason I'm wearing a wacky tie-dye shirt is that a lot of people do not feel safe with being childlike, with having fun, with play in their lives. Having taught so many people over the last 25 years, at first I was amazed how few people actually feel comfortable to truly let down, be childlike, and to play. Maybe that's not your deal. However, I would still continue to listen and do the inventories that I'm suggesting, because pleasure starts with connection to self. If I just go out to the situation and I'm not connected to myself, then I'm not going to be connected to the experience. Now, I might have a good time, but not nearly as much pleasure as if I'm connected to my own experience of what is taking place moment to moment to moment. This starts with nurturing self, getting in touch with self, becoming aware of self, knowing what you're feeling moment to moment to moment. And then starting to expand on purposefully focusing on certain experiences. So oftentimes, inner journey, inner work becomes just that. Work. Oh my goodness, I got to work on this challenge and I have to add that, and people are telling me I have to meditate 3 times a day and I have to say certain mantras and I have to go to yoga twice a week, and it becomes a long list of have-tos and shoulds, versus that is not magically going to give you pleasure in your life. I happen to love all the things I just mentioned, but I go to a lot of classes, and the people there are not necessarily in touch with their own experience, don't feel comfortable to nurture themselves, are not aware of what they're actually experiencing. They're just doing at least something healthy. Yay, wonderful. Yoga classes are amazing. How much more amazing if you are choosing to have fun with it, to release the pressure. Oh my God, I'm not doing this position with the same balance and strength that the people on the sides of me are doing. It is baffling how much we measure and compare. This is not fun. This is not pleasurable. I'm supposed to be at yoga class, nurturing and having a great time. There are lots of layers to this. But the bottom line is, do you start with doing things that you enjoy? Do you start by identifying what gives you pleasure? What things you actually prefer? And do you then feel comfortable to be childlike, to wear a wacky shirt like I'm wearing, just for the sake of expressing that part of yourself? We tend to be so in our heads, trapped in who we think we should be in order to get some kind of validation from those around us. Oh yes, I'm being seen the way I want to. I got news for you. If there are 10 people watching at any moment, you're seeing me in this moment 10 different ways. If there are 100 or 1,000, you're seeing me 1,000 different ways. Even if you come back and watch this same episode a week from now, it's liable to touch you in a different way than it is in this moment. So all that effort that we are putting out to make sure we're seen a certain way is not nearly as successful as you might think. Now sure, we may attract other people who like to present themselves in the same way, and therefore we all come together and present ourselves similarly, and there's nothing wrong and bad about it. But do you enjoy it? Is there pleasure and fun in what you're doing? Right now, I'm doing this podcast with you. I actually I enjoy being here having this conversation. This is pleasurable to me, and I purposefully focus on letting go of how all of you are going to see me, because I have learned over the years it's not possible to control how you see me. If we actually do that, what am I saying? I don't want you to be authentically you. I'm going to hold you hostage to my agenda of how I have to be seen. So that's your job. That's not very fun. I am sure you don't want to be held hostage to me controlling how you have to see me. How much more pleasurable is it to simply come together and decide who you want to be, what parts of you want to share in a moment. So I just planted a ton of different seeds about what keeps people from having fun, from having pleasure, trapped in their heads rather than being in the center of self, choosing the experience that you want to give yourself. So the inventory for this week is to merely ask yourself, do you know what brings you pleasure? Do you purposefully choose a great deal of your week invested in those things that give you pleasure? Do you feel safe to relax and play, to be childlike? When was the last time you laughed your ass off? I love to laugh. I love to play. I love to have a great time. That was not always the case. Sure, I loved it, but I didn't feel comfortable to allow it. I, exactly like what I've just shared with you, so often was trapped in presenting a certain self that I wasn't enjoying it. So my encouragement to you is that you be your most authentic self that you are today, and that you begin to see if within your authentic self you allow yourself to play, to do the things you enjoy, and to have pleasure. I tell people all the time there are 5 primary categories that I suggest you have goals within. It's like the hand are the facets of self, and the arm is the tree of self that is you. And the categories that I suggest are your inner journey and your physical well-being. That's 1. Your career, your relationships, not just your one, but all of them. And then your physical structure. What are your physical goals? What things do you need in your life? From the simplest, I need to go grocery shopping, to the more elaborate, I really want to work toward buying my own house. Whatever the goals happen to be, physical structure goals. The final, 5th goal that I suggest is fun and pleasure. If you don't have fun and pleasure balanced into all of the other facets of your life, I guarantee you have a lot to look forward to. So here I sit in this wacky tie-dye shirt, truly comfortable to express this part of myself. Not worried if you happen to think it's a different look than the professional look you might think I should be doing. I do it on purpose. The adult reality is that I am not threatened. I am making conscious choices, and I'm so glad that I have freed up my old sense of self, which was not nearly so comfortable, to play and be silly. So I encourage you to have a playful, pleasurable, childlike week, and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear how you're stretching yourselves. Please comment on the video. Write me at ronbaker.net. Go to the Facebook page and engage in a conversation with one another, in addition to me. Empowered at Last with Ron Baker. Please become a part of the conversation, whether you just show up every week. I hope you will subscribe to the podcast so that you can tune in and find out tons of different ways to enhance the quality of your life from the inside out, enhancing all the other arenas of your life. Have a great week. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Before we close, I wanted to encourage a couple of things. Number one is to go to ronbaker.net. There you will find lots of clues for how you can deepen this conversation. You can also find a way to get the booklet, An Essential Guide to the 9 Nurturing Needs. This is going to be a core focus of how we're going to enhance the quality of your life from the inside out in all the episodes. So I encourage you to go there to get an overview of those 9 nurturing experiences that we all seek more than any other thing in our lives. I also want you to get involved in the conversation here. I really would like to talk about the things that are important to you, the things that you're concerned about or excited about. We live in a wacky world that is changing constantly. We need to learn to connect to ourselves, to count on ourselves, and to count on one another. So please either get involved at ronbaker.net or in the Facebook page, which is Empowered at Last with Ron Baker. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to deepening this conversation about life. And I close as always, choose well, live fully, and by all means, be good to you. Have a great week.